What's going on, everyone? Kaz here, and today we're going through MMDL Season 2 Power Rankings, our Season 2 of the Mischief Mew Draft League. Last season we did a format called Low Tier Almost Any Ability, so we decided to change it up a little bit this time since the other format needs a bit of tweaking for it to be fully functional. This season we decided to do something I like to call Roll for Draft, and it's going to be pretty similar to a regular draft league in terms of battling, but when it comes to drafting, there is no total budget. So normally leagues will have a total budget of like 110, 115, 120. Instead, what we're going to be doing is that every round we're going to be rolling a dice, or using a Discord bot, just to make it simpler and prevent any cheating. We'll be doing that, and then we can draft Pokemon within their like price range or under for each round. So there was a total of a minimum of 10 rounds, and then after that we did a total up of what we got in the rolls. And as you can see here, if you got a total at the end of 55 to 70, 55 is the lowest possible anyone could roll. To 70 you get 2 additional rolls, so you can have 12 total Pokemon, as well as 3 rerolls. 71 to 90 was 2 additional rolls, 2 rerolls. 91 to 105, 1 additional roll, 2 rerolls. 106 to 120 would be 2 rerolls. 121 to 140 gives you a single reroll. And then 141 to 155 get absolutely nothing. So we'll just be going through today on all of the participants' drafts, what I think about them. Full transparency, I already recorded this and I didn't like how it turned out. So I've kind of changed the system of how I'm going to be ranking each team. So the total for each team, I've got it in sections, and it will be out of 40, and I'll order them into 1, 2, 3 at the end. Previously when I did it like there was a couple S tier, a couple A, a couple B, a couple C, and a few in D, but we're switching up. So the criteria that I've got for each team is I've got resistances and weaknesses out of 5. We've got low point utilization, so 10 points and lower. Are they good mons? Do they fit well with the team? Things like that. We've got Terra Captain potency, so how well do I think the Terra Captains are, particularly like together? Do I think they're good Terra Captains in general? Removal, hazards, momentum, how much I'd need to change to the team to feel comfortable using it, which is kind of personal to me, but just in general, how well I think if we were able to find something else that wasn't this, how much better I think the team would be. And that will give me a total out of 35. And then I'm going to go back to the other ranking I did, and I'll do that as additional out of 5. So if I put them as S tier in that rating, they'll get 5 points, A4, B3, all the way down. So let us get started with our first draft. Starting off, we have UnexpectedRoute and I believe it is the Iowan Cyndaquils, whose team consists of Bronzong, Terra Tapu Bulu, Terrapagos, Terra Hydreigon, Terrakion, Spectrier, Tentacruel, Rotom Heat, Mega Scolipede, and Malamar. Now, one thing that I didn't mention is that I've allowed every single Pokemon to have access to Terra Blast, not just the things that were in Scarlet and Violet. So Tapu Bulu can finally get that physical fairy stab if you're Terra Fairy Terra Blast, which I think makes it a whole lot better than if it didn't have access to Terra Blast. So I do generally like this team. I think something else that I didn't mention is that the tier list was objectively bad. We had a lot of value in every tier, so that it didn't feel as bad if you rolled a 1 or something. There's still something that's usable that could be grabbed. which you'll see later down the line when I'm speaking about some of the like 10 and lower point mons, and you'll probably be thinking that's nowhere near something that should be under 10 points. But I'll just go through some of the things. Resistances plus weaknesses. As you can see, there is no obvious weaknesses to the team with a good amount of resistances. So I've given that a 5 out of 5. The low point utilization. So the low points that we have on this team is a 4-point Bronzong, very good value. I believe 7-point Terrakion, which is insane value. Let me just double check that. Is that 7 or was that like 9? Yeah, that was 7 points, so insane value there. 8-point Tentacruel, 8 points Rotom Heat. Very good mons for that price range. 6-point Mega Scolipede. For the Megas that were in Champions... for the Megas that were in ZA, but not in Champions, the ability we're using is their base form's primary ability, so something like Mega Scolipede would be Poison Point. So 6 points, great stats, not great ability. See how that works. And then Malamar, 1 point, it's kind of bad, but 1 point, what are you going to do? Except the thing that Route decided to do was they rolled a 20, drafted Iron Valiant, and then thought it would be funny in their rerolls to get rid of it, and then rolled a 1, which, you know, I think in future I might have to put a special needs clause to prevent that from happening, as this team would have really liked having that Iron Valiant on the team. As you see, there's kind of a speed tier gap between the Spectre and Terrakion. So low point utilization, I gave it a 4 out of 5. I think we've got some pretty good mons here. Multiple like Levitate from these lower tiers. Malamar, there was actually quite a few mons that were better in the 1 point tier, so I feel like that holds it back a little bit. Terra Captain potency, I think we've got 2 very strong Terra Captains in the Tapu Bulu, which I'm really excited to see used, as well as the Hydreigon. But compared to some of the other teams, I think it lacks just a little bit, so I gave it a 4 out of 5. Removal wise, we're doing very well with removal. Terapagos is a great removal option. Tentacruel's pretty good. Defog on Rotom Heat and Hydreigon. It's 5 out of 5. Hazards wise, also 5 out of 5. We've got 4 very usable Stealth Rockers. I think Mega Scolipede is probably better than regular Scolipede when it comes to like hazard stacking, just because it has more of a longevity. And then Tentacruel with Toxic Spikes, absolutely fine. So for hazards, I gave that a 5 out of 5. Next up is momentum-wise. The one thing of this team is it's lacking a lot of momentum. We've got U-turn Hydreigon, Ball Switch, Rotom, Flip Turn, Tentacruel, but otherwise a lot of our mons don't have that momentum option, so we ended up with a 2 out of 5 there, which is slightly unfortunate. And then how much I'd need to change the team to use. I put 3 out of 5. Obviously I said that Malamar. I think I might have put this down a little bit more, since it should have been an Iron Valiant or a 20-pointer, so it might just be being a little petty, but we did that as 3 out of 5. So far, out of the total 35, we got 28. And I'll come back at the end with what I originally ranked these mons. So currently we have this at 28 points. Next up, we have VN, coach of the Quantum Choice Scarf, whose team consists of Gliscor, Victini, Bascule Legion, that can be male or female, Mega Diancie, Terra Iron Hands, Serena, Pelipper, Terra Tornadus Incarnate, Terra Low Kicks, Archaludon, and Melmetal. So for VN, for resistances, I've got 4 out of 5. As you can see, there's 2 weaknesses of the team, one being Ghost, which I think is the more prominent weakness, since our only option is like the low kicks, which isn't really good defensively. Offensively, we can deal with it with like the Basket Legion and the said low kicks, but defensively we kind of struggle against offensive ghost types. And then rock coverage we can deal with pretty well. Archaludon, Melmetal, and Iron Hands are all great sponges for those rock type hits, but Stealth Rocks hurts a lot of our team really badly. That I might force boots, things like that. So we ended up with a 4 out of 5. Low point utilization, I really like the low points of this team. So 10 point Basket Legion, pretty good since you get both of them. 5 point Serena, 9 point Pelipper. It's a team that benefits from rain but is forced to run rain, which I think is really good. The 8 point Terra low kicks, very strong, very good option. So I've given that a 5 out of 5. And then speaking of the Terra option, Terra Captain potency, I've given it a 4 out of 5. I really like Terra Iron Hands. I think that's very solid mon, particularly with this team. Terra low kicks, pretty good, very good with that like tinted lens, first impression, sucker punches, things like that. And even Torn Eye can be pretty decent with Terra, but as I said with Route, there were just some other teams which I think their Terra captains were just a little bit better, provided a little more pressure on the team. So we've given that a 4 out of 5. Next up, we're coming up to removal, 5 out of 5. 3 defoggers that can all just run defog, as well as a spinner. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. That's pretty good. And then hazard-wise, I've also given it a 5 out of 5, since we got a good amount of Stealth Rockers, good amount of Spikers, and then T-Spike's pretty good. Next up, we have Momentum. We've got very solid momentum, a lot of U-turn users, the Gliscor, the low kicks, the Pelipper, the Torn Eye, the Serena, the Victini, Volt Switch on Iron Hands, Flip Thermal Basket Legion. You couldn't ask for more momentum, so I've given that a 5 out of 5. And then finally we have what I changed to the team. I actually don't think I'd change a lot to this team. I think, considering what we had, and like the rolls in that, so the highest roll we managed to get was a 19 for Mega Diancie, which was a 17 pointer, all the way down to 16, which we ended up getting a 15 pointer with. I think we've done pretty well at making a very solid team that covers a lot of its bases. So yeah, I've given that a 5 out of 5. So that is a total of 33 out of 35. So currently above Route's team. Next up, we go to Syth's team, which consists of Terra Goldengo, Mew, Chansey, Tornadus Therian, Mega Darkrai, Swampert, Cinderace, Terra Suicune, Hydrapple, Tinkaton, and Terra Bellibolt. We'll see if Mega Darkrai should be legal in drafts here. So weakness wise, I've given it a 4 out of 5. We've got a pretty evident ground weakness. We do kind of cover it with our Taunty plus Hydrapple being a good regen core, but we still have just a lot of weakness to that ground typing. 2 of them are Terramons, but I don't think that really takes away from how much of a weakness we do have to just ground coverage in general. I also am still unsure of how good a just regular Hydrapple would be in Nat decks. I like it in low tier. I really like it with like the Terra option. I was really hoping to roll a 20 myself to get Terra Hydrapple, but no dice. But yeah, that's a 4 out of 5. Low point utilization, so we got 4 point Chansey, which is really good, 10 point Swampert's decent, 5 point Terra Suicune, very good, 9 point Hydrapple, I think that's pretty good value. And then 7-point Terra Bellybolt. I think that, yeah, 5 out of 5. Also the 10-point Tinkerton. 5 out of 5, I'm happy with that. Terra Captain Potency, I've got 4 out of 5. I think Terra Goldengo is really good. Terra Suicune's kind of underrated, and as well as the Terra Bellybolt. However, I do feel like a lot of times you're prioritizing terroring your Goldengo in this to be a bit more offensive. I know regular Goldengo is absolutely fine to use. It's still a great mon. But I feel like when you have that Terra option, you're most likely wanting to be using it. So we did that as 4 out of 5. Removal. We're slightly lacking with removal. We have Defog on Taunty, which is it's a great defogger, and then on Mew. The only issue I'm having with that is Mew likes to have a lot of options, so only having one other Pokemon to remove hazards is kind of rough. I know we do have Court Change on Cinderace, but it kind of messes with our own hazards, things like that. And when we have such a, it's a pretty stally team. You kind of want the hazards on putting up on your opponent's side. So we ended up, I ended up putting that as a 3 out of 5. And then hazards were a 5 out of 5. I think they were fine. Momentum wise, yeah, momentum's fine. Good amount of U-turn, Taunty, Cinderace, Mew can be U-turn, Volt Switch, Flip Turn. We got Volt Switch, Belly Bolt, Flip Turn, Swampert. That's a 5 out of 5. And then how much I changed with the team? 4 out of 5. Like I said, I'm unsure about the Hydrapple. I think it's pretty good for like the ground resist that we have, though I feel like there are probably some better even like lower point options, and we could have tried to move some stuff around. You know, it might be just a bit of nitpicking, but yeah, that is a 4 out of 5 for a total of 30 out of 35 so far. We have Jax, coach of the Nashville Torracats. For like the resistances in that, I gave it a 2 out of 5. We got quite a few weaknesses. Ghost is a big one where we have Porygon Z as an immunity, but that kind of wants to be tearing if it's coming, or doesn't want to be coming at all with some of the other mons that we have. Also Dark, since we don't have a natural Dark type of ourselves, we don't have a natural Fairy type, and a bit of a weakness to Dark without any resistance. It's kind of unfortunate. Fighting is there with our all of our Terra captains, so they can Terra out of their fighting weakness, but it just means we have less options. And then Fire, obviously, when we have a lot of Steel types. Yeah, the one thing with this team is got a lot of type overlap. 3 Waters, 3 Steels, 2 Ground, 2 Grass, 2 Psychic. There's probably another that I'm just completely missing, but a lot of type overlap, which is, it can be fine, but there's a point where it's like, is this too much type overlap? Next up, the like low tier, like how good our low tiers are. 10-point Volcarona, one of the crazy ones I think is very good value. 1-point Cradily, okay, yeah, fine. 3-point Mega Chimecho, I want to see that mon succeed. 5-point Terra Porygon Z, pretty strong, particularly for 5 points. And 9-point Terra Empoleon, I think that's very good value. So I gave that a 5 out of 5. Terra Captain wise, I gave a 3 out of 5. I think Terra Drill's pretty good, and Terra both the Porygon Z and the Empoleon benefit from terrestrialization. I just think compared to some of the others that we've talked about and what we will talk about, it's slightly lacking. I don't even think I've properly said what the team was. The team is Rotom Wash, Terra Excadrill, Volcarona, Landorus Therian, Cradily, Mega Chimecho, Terra Porygon Z, Ogerpon, Wellspring, Iron Boulder, Terra, Empoleon, and Scolipede. Removal-wise, we've got fantastic removal, 5 out of 5, 5 defoggers, 1 spinner, couldn't ask for any more. Hazard-wise, also 5 out of 5, having 3 decent rockers and a Cradilly, fine, 2 spikers, 1 T-spiker, absolutely usable. Now, unfortunately, when we get to, hold on, Momentum first, another one which I gave 5 out of 5, I think that's absolutely fine. Flip Turn Empoleon, Volt Switch, Rotom Wash, U-Turn on Lando and Wellspring, even on Volcarona can be usable. And then we go down a bit to how much I have to change for the team, being 2 out of 5. Like I said, just a lot of type overlap, things like that. I'd probably try and find a couple different options, particularly trying to... I'd like a natural fairy type. I'd like a dark type. Just little things like that. So it ended up with a 2 out of 5 for that. For a total of giving 27 out of 35 for this team so far. Next team we have Rotom, who rolled 121 points total. And their team consists of Great Tusk, Ribombee, Terra Heatran, Terra Thunderous Therian, Rillaboom, Drapion, Torkoal, that's a Mega Latias, Quagsire, Milotic, and Darmanitan Gala. Weaknesses and resistances wise, I've given a 4 out of 5. We do have a rock weakness, though thankfully we got one of the best rock resists in the game in Great Tusk, and even Quagsire is pretty decent, though the weakness is still pretty much quite evident. And then we got a bit of a flying weakness, particularly because our 2 resists in the Heatran and Thundy T are both our Terra Captains that will most likely want to be tearing out of those resistances. So it's definitely something to be aware of when Rotom is prepping and when their opponent is prepping against them. Low tier wise, 5 out of 5. 5-point Ribombee, absolutely fine. 10-point Rillaboom is another insane one. 8-point Drapion, fine. 9-point Torkoal, absolutely fine. 4-point Quagsire, yeah, sure, why not? And 7-point Milotic, really good. Very good value. Terra Captain potency wise, I've given a 5 out of 5. I think both Terra Captains are very good. Very solid. Either can be Terra in each game, as they don't necessarily require Terra to be used. Removal wise, I've given also 5 out of 5. 3 defoggers, 2 rapid spinners, one of the best rapid spinners in the game, and some decent defog options. 5 out of 5, as well as hazards, 5 out of 5. 4 very usable rockers, Spike, 2 T-spikers, even webs. Very good for the team. Momentum, also 5 out of 5. Galarian Darmanitan, Rillaboom, Ribombee, Thundy T being rather U-turn, Volt Switch, or just like Flip Turn Milotic. Absolutely great. And then if there's anything I change for the team, not really. I think it's a very solid team. I think it's one of the best teams that we have. So I've given it a 5 out of 5, which takes it to a 34 out of 35 so far. Very solid. Next up, we have Viinis, who rolled 127 points. The team consists of Galarian Slowking, Terra Frostmoth, Mega Frostlass, Chi-Yu, Terra Holucha, Zeraora, Donphan, Stoutland, Gyarados, Carbink, Terra Skeledirge, and Greninja. So, 4 weaknesses. I've given it a 2 out of 5. We do have some pretty glaring weaknesses. A lot of weaknesses to the water type, with our resistances being Greninja and Gyarados, which don't have longevity and can be a bit rough for the team. Do have a slight electric weakness, though we do have Donphan and the Volt Absorb Zeraora. We got ground weakness, the hitting a large part of our offensive mons. And then we do have a very big rock weakness, which is the main one. Stealth rocks look amazing into this team, pretty much forcing Donphan to come every week due to this, due to our rock weakness, also being one of our main removal options. So in terms of low tier proficiency, 4-point Terra Frostmoth, great. 9-point Donphan, good removal option. 2-point Stoutland, I don't really think Stoutland's a Pokemon, but I know Viinis loves that mon. 5-point Gyarados is good value, though I'm still unsure how well I think it is for the team. Binka is my guy, I love him, so I've given that a 4 out of 5. Terra Captain wise, I've given this a 5 out of 5. Terra Frostmoth, Terra Holucha, and Terra Skeletor all provide prep from your opponent. As if you don't, if you try and like over prepare for one and another comes, you might just come completely unstuck going into Viinis. So I do think they're really good. I really like those options. Overall, this team looks really fun. Though the Stoutland, Gyarados, I'd probably change those and try and fix some of my weaknesses. Removal wise, I've given us a 2 out of 5. Although we have 2 Defoggers and a Rapid Spinner, the Defoggers don't really want to be running Defog. And then Donphan as a spinner is a decent spinner. It's not like the best spinner ever. It pales in comparison to the Paradox Donphans, but it's still pretty decent, still usable. But I think it's definitely a 2 out of 5. Hazards wise, a bit better. I've given a 4 out of 5. We've got 2 Stealth Rockers with our Donphan probably coming every game, or most games, being rocks on it will be fine. Good amount of Spikers, decent key Spikers. I don't think that's a bad shout. Next up we have Momentum wise, which I've given a 4 out of 5. Frostmoth very rarely going to want to run U-turn, so you've got U-turn in Greninja, Holucha, and Zeraora, which I think it's that's you got Chilly Reception, Glow King, so that's a bit better. But yeah, you're still kind of being held back by some of the lack of momentum, which is why I've given it a 4 out of 5. And the things that I change about the team, I've given a 3 out of 5. As I said, the aforementioned, the Stoutland and the Gyarados, I'd probably look at some of the stuff to help with some of the weaknesses and cover other roles. So bringing the total of that, we have 24 out of 35, which I think is unfortunately our lowest so far, though the team does look really fun. I think I'd have a good time using some of this stuff. Next team, we have LPT, coach of Sfeel, who rolled a total of 126. And their team consists of Garchomp, Tapu Fini, Terra Hisuian Zoroark, Rotom, Terra Tyranitar, Weavile, Moltres, Mega Scizor, Okidogi, and Terra Cresselia. So weaknesses wise, I've given LPT a 5 out of 5, although that you can see does have the fairy weakness. The one of them is a Terra Captain, being the Tyranitar, and then Mega Scizor and Moltres are just some of the better fairy sponges in the game, so I didn't think that was too outlandish for me to say this is a 5 out of 5. Low tier wise, also a 5 out of 5. 8-point Terra Hisuian Zoroark, I think is really good, provides a lot of prep. 6-point Rotom, fantastic. 8-point Moltres, yeah, great. 8-point Okidogi, very solid. 10-point Terra Cresselia, obnoxious mon. So I think it's got very good value of the lower picks. Terra Captain wise, also 5 out of 5. all of the Terra Captains provide a lot of prep from the opponent. Hisuian Zorark's really annoying with those mind games, and when it lacks some power, being just like that Terra Ghost, Terra Normal, can really help it out. Tyranitar, getting rid of that 4x weakness, can be like a DD sweeper, or just a really bulky, obnoxious Mon. And then obviously the very bulky, obnoxious Cresselia, that can also be like a Calm Mind sweeper, I guess. And gave that a 5 out of 5. Now, removal wise, I've given this a 4 out of 5. We have 4 defoggers, I believe. Tapu Fini, Rotom, Mega Sizzle, and Moltres. The reason I've given it a 4 out of 5 is 1, that there's no spin, and 2, a lot of times some of these mons don't want to be running defog. I know Mega Sizzle very rarely wants to be a defog bot. Moltres can, but it's always running, pretty much always running boots. Tapu Fini might not want to be running it, and Rotom might not want to be running defog, so that's why it moved down to 4 out of 5. Hazard wise, we actually got a 2 out of 5, since we've got 1 Spiker and 2 Rockers, being the Garchomp and Tyranitar. For something like this team, I feel like Garchomp wants to be a more offensive role, since we've got so many like defensive setup threats that we probably don't want to be running the Stealth Rock or the Spikes on it. And then Tyranitar, also somewhat similar, with if we're bringing it as a Terra Captain, we probably don't want to be running hazards on it, which is why it got the 2 out of 5. Momentum wise, like I said, we've got Mega Sizzle, which is one of the best U-turners in the game. Moltres can be U-turn, and Hisuian Zorark can be U-turn. I've given this a 3 out of 5, as we've got, I don't know why it's actually not saying Rotom Volt Switch, which is another thing that we have. But yeah, I'm still happy with the 3 out of 5, where Hisuian Zorark probably doesn't want to be U-turning around, particularly if you're trying to disguise it as Weavile, Tapu Fini, something like that. Just immediately revealing with U-turn could be a game changer. So yeah, happy with 3 out of 5 on that. And then is there anything that I change about the team? Honestly, no. I think the team's very solid. I think it provides a lot of the roles that you need. I don't know what I would get rid of to try and get more hazards on the team, as I think they all help each other defensively pretty well. So I've given that a 5 out of 5. Averaging all that and adding them up, we get 29 out of 35 for the moment. Boniour and the Brittany Bramblegusts, who rolled a total of 128 points. The team consists of Kyurem, Slitherwing, Corviknight, Slowking, Gouging Fire, Hippowdon, Terra Swallow, Terra Iron Moth, Jirachi, Mega Sableye, and Sylveon. Weaknesses wise, I've given it a 3 out of 5. We got a pretty evident rock weakness that you have a lot of these like sun teams, even though this isn't a sun team. But the double fire types, the Swallow, and the Kyurem being weak to rocks is very annoying for the team. And then we have pretty, I wouldn't say big, but pretty evident ghost weakness, with Swallow being our immunity, and because Mega Sableye is also part ghost, it doesn't resist those ghost type attacks. So we've got a bit of a weakness there. Low point wise, 5 out of 5, 9 point Slitherwing, amazing, 5 point Hippowdon, amazing, 6 point Terra Swallow, very solid, 10 point Mega Sableye, also very, very solid, and then 7 point Sylveon, I think was very good for this team. Terra Captain wise, I've given this actually a 5 out of 5. I think this was kind of on the cusp, and it could have been a 4 out of 5, but I gave it a 5 out of 5 because I think Terra Iron Moth is really good, and Terra Swallow is very underrated. Trying to deal with that in like a low tier Terra format is so difficult to do. It becomes a little easier when you've got higher tier like Terra options, but I still think a lot of people will probably try and prioritize that Terra Iron Moth and could probably just get absolutely bopped by that Terra Swallow. So we'll go with 5 out of 5. Now we get to some of the lower points. the lowest scoring, I should say. I've given it a 2 out of 5 on removal. We do have one of the better defoggers in the game in Corviknight, and then it's Swallow as our other one. We also have Magic Bounce, Sableye, but I think when you have such a hazard weak team, you kind of wanted that spin option. You kind of wanted probably even more defog, something like that. And then hazards from ourselves, I think we only have rocks in Hippowdon, Jirachi. I don't think there's any other hazards. We got Toxic Spikes, Iron Moth, but I don't think we have any spikes or anything like that, so that ended up giving us a 1 out of 5 for that. Momentum wise, 5 out of 5. I don't know why it's not showing some of these mons, but we got a lot of momentum in Slitherwing, Corviknight, we got Chilly Reception or Teleport, Slowking, Iron Moth, Swallow, Jirachi, Baton Pass, Sylveon. We've got a lot of stuff that can keep up momentum in the team, so 5 out of 5. And then anything that I'd like change to the team, 4 out of 5, maybe even like Terra Swallow could be something else, but that's like our elite speed tier, so I think that's kind of fine. Maybe trying to angle some stuff around to get an actual ghost resist or something like that. I don't know, I might just be nitpicking. But overall, we have 25 out of 35 on that. Next up, we have Southern Cavern, who rolled 123 points. And team consists of Terra Ogerpon Cornerstone, Terra Eternal Floette, Mega Chandelure, Tinglu, Starmie, Terra Volcanion, Nidoqueen, Genesect, that is complex, so it cannot run choice items, so no Spec, Scarf, or Band, but it can run like Ockerberry, Life Orb, Helmet, Boots, anything like that. Talonflame, Hisuian Decidueye, and Raging Bolt. Weakness-wise, I've given it 3 out of 5. We do have quite a large ice weakness into some of our stuff. Ground weakness is very evident, with Talonflame being our immunity and a Hisuian Decidueye being our resist. And then we have a ghost weakness with, thankfully Tinglu is like one of, if not the best ghost answer in the game, but it's still something just to be noted. Low tier value wise, I've given this a 5 out of 5. 6 point Terra Eternal Floette. I'm interested to see how that does, as it's a very offensive fairy. I think that can be good. 7 point Starmie, amazing, gives you removal, things like that. 10 point Terra Volcanion, Chef's Kiss, really good. 8 point Talonflame, gives you an elite speed tier, which is good for the team. Also removal. Hisuian Decidueye is a little bit, for 2 points, great value. I don't know how well it does with the team. It might be something that I'd personally look at changing, but to each their own. Terra Captain Potency, I've got 3 out of 5. I'm interested to see how Terra Floette does. Terra Ogerpon's a pretty decent Terra Captain. The thing is, I think Terra Volcanion as a Terra Captain is really good, and you'll probably prioritize terraing that most weeks, especially since you've already got 2 other fire types and another water type. So you're probably wanting to be terraing that to something else for extra damage or just like coverage. Okay, so removal wise, I've given us 4 out of 5. Spin Starmie, fine. Defog Talonflame, that's pretty good. Defog and Volcanion is an option that we can use. And then defog on Hisuian Decidueye is a thing. I think that's all of the removal. As for some reason this dock is dying on me and not seeing some of the mons. Nothing else is coming to mind as being a removal option, so I think that's it. So yeah, 4 out of 5 on that, as well as 4 out of 5 on hazards. Spikes, Ogerpon, Tinglu, very good rocker, very good spiker. Nidoqueen gets the rocks and T-spikes. So yeah, I think 4 out of 5 is fine with that, particularly being carried by that Tinglu. Momentum-wise, 5 out of 5. Flip turn Starmie, U-turn on. One of the best U-turns with Genesect. Talonflame can U-turn. We got Volt Switch on Raging Bolt. U-turn on. And well, I guess Hisuian Decidueye. Things that I change, I've got 3 out of 5, as I said, the aforementioned Hisuian Decidueye. Although it's good for its price point, I'd probably look at something else for the team. And then Nidoqueen kind of feels a bit out of place. I know it's the grounded poison, but when you've already got Tinglu, I feel like Tinglu just comes more times than Nidoqueen does. And then bringing them both. It's another team that has a lot of type overlap. So like Talonflame, maybe look at something else of that. I know it's like the elite speed tier. But when you've already, when it's the 3rd fire type, it's a little rough. Which averaging that out, we get 27 out of 35. Okay, Team 10. So here we have Jake Paul. Now we have Zodiac, coach of the Vegas Corviknights, who rolled 109 points, so a lot lower than everyone else so far. Team consisting of Colossal, Zapdos, Slowbro, Terra Necrozma, Alolan Muck, Pheasantipity, Frostlass, Sneasler, Terra Chestnut, Arcanine, Mega Skarmory, and Ursaluna. For resistances, I've got 2 out of 5, as we have some pretty evident weaknesses to things like water, ground, rock, and ghost. Ghost a little less, since Ursaluna obviously sponges a lot of hits and then doesn't really care about being wisped. And then Alolan Muck is a pretty good answer to ghost types. The thing with Muck is it's your 3rd poison type. Though I understand, because it was very good for its price point, and then in that price point it's the best dark type there was. But it's just kind of strange to have 3 grounded poison types, 2 of which don't get T-Spikes, so just a bit interesting. And just creates more of a ground weakness for the team. Low tier wise though, 5 out of 5. Colossal gives you spin, gives you hazard, fine. 5-point Alolan Muck, very good value, best dark type down there. 3-point Frostlass, spin blocker, spikes. 4-point Terra Chestnut, can be pretty good in some certain matchups. 6-point Arcanine, I think it's fine. 7-point Mega Skarmory is one of the mons that I would probably put too low. I'm hoping to see it do some damage in this league. So yeah, pretty happy with 5 out of 5 for that. Terra Captain Potency, I got 4 out of 5. I think Terra Necrozma is one of the best Terra Captains that were drafted. I think it's really good, but I think we kind of fall off after that with the Terra Pheasantipity and Terra Chestnut. Terra Chestnut can be fine. I think it might come up to like 1 match in the league. And then Terra Pheasantipity, I don't really rate too much. I mean, it's not horrible, but I think compared to what some other coaches have, it's kind of lackluster. So I'll keep that 4 out of 5. Removal wise, I've put down a 3 out of 5, since our removal options are the Zapdos, the Mega Skarmory, and Colossal, which Colossal is not very good without Terra. So I think we're kind of lacking in that. 5 out of 5 for hazards. We've got a lot of rockers, a lot of spikers. The Colossal, as we said, you can be rocks on Necrozma. You can be spikes on Colossal as well, Frostlass, Skarmory gets rocks and spikes, Chestnut gets spikes, so we do have options, T-spikes on Sneasel and that, so that being 5 out of 5. Momentum, we are lacking quite a bit of offensive momentum. We do have multiple forms of like U-turn from Sneasel, from Fezandipity, Volt Switch, or U-turn from Zapdos, and then we got like Teleport Arcanine, Teleport Slowbro. I don't think Necrozma gets Teleport. But things like that, which put us down a little bit, so I've given that a 4 out of 5, as we've got a lot of passive momentum. Things that I change about the team, I think I changed quite a bit about the team, to be honest. Not a big fan of non-Terra Colossal. Alolan Muck, I'd probably try and find some other Dark type. Fezandipity, probably another Fairy type since I've already got Poison, or keep the Alolan Muck and something like that. Chestnut, second Fighting type, which I think it's okay because it's like Terra. Arcanine, I don't really rate too highly. I think if you're looking for like a Dark type and with your points, I think you can get like a lower point Incineroar, which might be a bit better for this team. But maybe I've just been playing Champions a little too much recently. But yeah, I've given that a 2 out of 5 because I think I changed quite a bit about this, though I do really like some of the top tiers. Particularly Terra Necrozma, which I think it was very rude that he didn't give to me. Averaging all those total, we got 25 out of 35. Moving over to the next doc, we have Raku, coach of the Deep State Ultra Beasts, who rolled a total of 117, though fun fact, Raku was the draft's like biggest loser in the first 10, to the point where I had to change the ruling, as originally I had it 55 to 90 would get 2 rerolls and 2 additional rolls. However, I changed it as I think in round 6 we realized Raku's highest roll was below 10, so I added that. It was 55 to 70 for 2 additional rolls, 3 rolls, and at the end of the 10, they rolled 69. So, a bit rough. They were able to scrape it back, and I think, to be honest, they did a very good job with the team that they got, particularly since a lot of their high stuff, like the scraps that were just around and hadn't been drafted yet. So I think that was pretty good. Weaknesses-wise, 4 out of 5. We've got a bit of a ghost weakness, and whilst I know we've got decent options in like Mandibuzz and 2 normal types, I don't really rate the normal types all that much. Obstagoon I see pretty difficult to bring, or like have a reason for you to bring it, since Mandibuzz is just way better of like a Dark type. And then Heliolisk, I think I prefer the Heliolisk on this team than the Obstagoon, but we don't need like the speed tier. We could probably find something else that would fit just a little bit more on the team. Low tier wise, 5 out of 5. A lot of these mons are low tier. 6-point Vaporeon, really good. 2-point Orthworm, good value. 4-point Heliolisk, okay, fine. 7-point Obstagoon, also good value, but I don't think works too well with this team. 3-point Terra Claydol, absolutely fine. 8-point Terra Noivern, can be very solid. Terra Normal Boomburst. 10-point Mandibuzz, yeah, really like Mandibuzz, so I think I'm pretty happy giving that a 5 out of 5. Terra Captain Potency, I've given a 3 out of 5. I just think it's kind of lackluster compared to the other stuff that other coaches have. I'm excited to see Terra Nidoking with Terra Blast. I think that could be pretty cool. And the others can be like good like utility wise, but if we're talking like offensive pressure, I think it's lacking slightly compared to our other coaches. Removal wise, I've given 4 out of 5. We got 3 defoggers and a spinner. Mandibuzz, yeah, absolutely fine running defog. Noivern can run defog, though if you're bringing those like Terra sets, probably don't want it. And then Sizzle, regular Sizzle is more likely to run defog than like Mega Sizzle, but it's not an option you want to be forced into. And then Claydol Spin, yeah, sure, fine. And then hazard wise, 5 out of 5. Claydol, Nidoking, Orthworm, getting up rocks, Orthworm spikes, Nidoking T-spikes. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. I think Nidoking comes to a lot of your games. So yeah, solid. Momentum, yeah, got very good momentum. 5 out of 5. Good amount of U-turn in like the Mandibuzz, the Healer List, Noivern, Sizzle being a very good U-turner, Volt Switch Healer List, Flip Turn on Vaporeon, Parting Shot on Obstagoon, Teleport Claydol, things like that. I think very, very solid. And would I change anything about this team? I got 3 out of 5. As I said, Obstagoon I'd probably look at changing, Healer List I'd probably look at changing. And maybe change like Terra Captains if I can. I know the board's like slim pickings, but there might be something that might be a bit better for the team. But overall, I think this, compared to where we started, where Raku started, I think this is a major improvement. And overall, all that sum comes up to 29 out of 35. Team 12 is the ScarySmoliv, coach of the Smoliv Garden, and they rolled a total of 123 points. They have Mega Delphox, Iron Treads, Hisuian Samurott, Annihilate, Galvantula, Terra Florges, Terra Kilowattrel, Miltank, Dondozo, Nihilego, and Terra Ogerpon. They started off this draft getting really high points, and then it kind of trickled off. So they got a very solid top 4, and then they got very solid low tier picks, but yeah, you can definitely see where it kind of fell off during the draft, and then additional rolls and re-rolls being able to get some higher points. So weaknesses wise, I've given this a 5 out of 5. I know it does say there's a bit of a weakness to rock, but you do have, like I said, with I think Rotom's team, one of the best rock resists in the game in our Iron Treads being that 4 times resist, and Annihilate is also just a really good rock resist. So I was pretty happy having that as 5 to 5. Low tier wise, yeah, also 5. 4-point Galvantula, absolutely fine. 6-point Terra Florges, I think it's pretty solid for this team. 8-point Terra Kilowattrel, yeah, it's a good speed gap, but like a bridge in speed between Mega Delphox and like the Ogerpon. Miltank, yeah, good normal type of 5 points. 6-point Donzozo, I think, is a very slept on pick, especially because it means you can be more offensive with your Hisuian Samurott, which I think is good. 10-point Nihilego, yep, very solid, potentially a sweeper. So I think I'm happy having that as 5. Terra Captain Potency, I have 4 out of 5. I think a lot of time you want to be terroring that Ogerpon. It's just objectively the best Terra Captain, so I feel like that might be a bit difficult for you to bring Kilowattrel in general. I think Florges is fine without the Terra being brought, though obviously the Terra option does make it a whole lot better. Then we get down to removal, where I've given this a 3 out of 5. I know we do have one of the best spinners in the game in Iron Treads, and then we also have Defog on the Florges, but I'm pretty sure that's the only removal this team has. So it's slightly lacking, hence why I've given it a lower score. Hazard-wise, though, setting ourselves 5 out of 5. 4 very solid stealth rockers. We've got an option for spikes, option for T-spikes, and option for sticky web. I think that's very solid. Momentum-wise, also 5 out of 5. Very good amount of momentum with U-turns and volt switches, flip turns. Very, very solid. Would I change anything about this team? I put 4 out of 5. I'd probably look at maybe changing like Galvantula or something, as it seems having Galvantula and Kilowattrel, I think you could possibly get rid of one of them and find something else. But overall, out of 35, I've given that a 31. Team number 13, we have Forza, who is actually our lowest rolled in total, with 107 points. But I think they did a pretty solid job considering what they rolled. Weaknesses wise, I've given it a 3 out of 5, as there's some pretty obvious glaring weaknesses. Water being one of them, though thankfully it's a lot of our threats that probably want to be coming most weeks do resist the water type. And some of our stuff that is weak to water can tear it out of that weakness. Ice is very similar. Unfortunately, Ice is a bit better into some stuff that we want to be bringing, such as the Latios and the Sinistra. And then obviously that ground weakness that we have from having the Glamora, the Mega Drill, the Blaziken, Jolteon. Low tier value wise, I've also given this a 3 out of 5. As while I like what Forza has done with the team, there's a couple things. There's two main ones I feel like you can just change for something else. I think 4-point Terra Zoroark is really good, very solid for the team. 8-point Sinistra, yeah, I think works really well for you. 6-point Meloetta, I know he used Terra Meloetta in a NBA season recently and did really well with it, so probably just wanted to use the regular since he's comfortable with it. Wheezing is one of them that I think you can just find something else. I know that you like the Levitate, but I'm pretty sure you can get Electros in the same price point. And then Jolteon, 3-point Jolteon, it's good value, though I struggle to see it coming to many matchups for you. I know it's your elite speed tier, but maybe there's something down there if you juggle some stuff around, though I'm not 100% certain. But those were the things that I'm not the biggest fan of. Terra Captain Potency, though, 5 out of 5. Terra Blaziken is insane, Terra Zoroark is really annoying, and Terra Rhyperior can just sweep through teams and be incredibly obnoxious to try and break. Removal wise, I've given this a 5 out of 5. You got Rapid Spin on Mega Drill, you've got Mortal Spin, Glamora, Defog in Latios, and I guess Blaziken. All very solid and all can be used. And then also 5 out of 5 for setting hazards. Good amount of rockers, got a spike option, got T-spike option. That's all you really need. Momentum is also a 5 out of 5. Double flip term, Latios, Primarina, Volt Switch and Jolteon. We've got U-turn options with Zoroark, though possibly doesn't want to be running U-turn if it's trying to disguise itself. Meloetta being able to pivot around absolutely fine. And then Blaziken, also something that probably doesn't want to be U-turning around, but having the option depending on the team. If you wanted to terrestrialize something else, I think it's still very, very solid. If there's anything I changed, I gave a 3 out of 5, like I said, with the Wheezing and the Jolteon. Otherwise, everything else I think is very good. It makes a very solid team. So overall, we got 29 out of 35 on that. Next up, we have Cyan, Yoshi, and the Whoopapins. We got Terracomo, Celesteela, Mega Meganium, Palafin, Terra Garganical, Terra Bastiodon, Urshifu Rapid Strike, I apologize, Cyclozar, Meowscarada, and Landorus Incarnate. Weakness-wise, I've given this a 2 out of 5. Some very obvious weakness. Freeze Dry goes stupid into this team. As you got a massive ice weakness with a lot of your resistances being water types. You got a bit of a fighting weakness, bit of a flying weakness, and a bit of a fairy weakness. I think which is hard to ignore for the team. And I'm also realizing there's no like grounded poison, which means T-Spikes might be pretty decent into you. If we're talking about low tier, how good our like low tiers are, Cyan actually rolled quite high, the highest that anyone had rolled in 132 points. So didn't get too many of these like lower point rolls, but like 10-point Terra Garganical is one of the best 10-point Terra captains there was. Very, very good value. 2-point Terra Bastiodon is still very good. Very solid, like an Iron Defense, like rest, body press set. Really good. Cyclozar is one of like your only forms of removal on the team, and also gives a good speed tier. Very solid. Terra Captain Potency. Yep, 5 out of 5. All three of the Terra Captains are incredibly annoying, incredibly scary to face. Removal wise, I've given 2 out of 5 since our options are Defog on Lando I, that probably wants to be running more offensive sets on this team, and then the aforementioned Cyclozar, which, I mean, Cyclozar is fine, but it doesn't really want to be coming every week if it can help it. On the flip side, hazard wise, 5 out of 5, 4 very solid rockers that can all be fine running Stealth Rock, and then Spikes and T-Spikes from Meowscarada. I'm fine with having that at 5. Momentum, the same, 5 out of 5. Flip turn from Palafin, and then U-turn from Urshifu, Meow, Lando I, Cyclozar, all very solid. Would I change anything about this team? 4 out of 5. I think the thing that I change is probably the Urshifu. I think it's a bit out of place when you've already got Komoa and Palafin. I'd probably find something else, as it's not like you need the speed tier or anything. It provides good offensive pressure, but when you have so many weaknesses, I think I'd probably look at just something else, because it's increasing your weakness to Fairy, increasing your weakness to Flying, for the team. So yeah, averaging or adding up all those scores gave 28 out of 35. We got 2 more, and then we'll go over what I ranked them last time and do the final ranking. Next up we have Adura, coach of the Godslayer Finians, who rolled 128 points. Team consists of Urshifu Single Strike, Terra Serperia, Toxapex, Silvally, Mega Alakazam, Clefable, Golurk, Terra Thunderous Incarnate, Metagross, and Darkrai. For resistances, I've given 4 out of 5, since we do have a couple weaknesses with Fire, though we do have a good resistance with that Toxapex, and then Ice, Toxapex and Metagross being a resistance, and then 2 of our weaknesses to Ice being able to Terra. I think is pretty solid. Low tier value wise, 9-point Toxapex, really good, like absurdly good. 10-point Silvally, very good versatility. 4-point Golurk, yeah, fine. I think it worked pretty well with the team. Spin blocker, ground type, absolutely fine. So that was 5 out of 5. Terra Captain Potency, 4 out of 5. I think he has 2 very good Terra Captains. I think the only thing is, if you're bringing Serperia, it really wants to be the Terra Captain, which kind of holds Thundy Eye back a bit, because I think Thundy Eye is a very good Terra Captain. With like Terra, Flying, Ice, Fairy sets can be really good, but if you have the Serperia, it kind of wants to be that Terra Captain. So removal wise, 4 out of 5, we have 3 Defoggers, 2 of them being our Terra Captains, which means they might not want to be running Defog, and then Silvally, which is very versatile and probably can be fine just running it, but it also depends on what type you want to be bringing into the matchup. Obviously, if you're bringing a rock weak Silvally, like a Silvally Fire or Silvally flying, you might have to pick something else. I've also given a 4 out of 5 on our own hazards, as there is no spiker on the team. All of our rockers are fine and are okay running Stealth Rock, and then T-Spikes on Toxapex absolutely fine. Momentum-wise, also a 4 out of 5. Parting Shot on Silvally, Teleport on Clefable, Volt Switch or U-Turn, Thundy Eye, U-Turn on Urshifu and Silvally. Decent amount of Pokemon that can run momentum moves. Would there be anything I'd change? I did 4 out of 5. I don't know what he could change, but spoiler alert, Adura is my week 1 opponent, and it seemed like the Urshifu Single Strike and the Darkrai kind of filled a lot of the same roles. And I thought Urshifu was a lot better into me, personally. I do personally think overall Darkrai is a better Pokemon, and I like that speed tier. So it's probably just nitpicking, but maybe looking around to see if I could change that. Though, like I said, slim pickings. So yeah, 29 out of 35 overall for that. The final team is yours truly. I'm not going to go too much in detail with this, since I want to make a full draft analysis and kind of go through my thought process during the actual draft, and what I got, what changes I made. So this is my team. I rolled a total of 128 points. We have Terra Vikavolt, Peturunt, Alomomola, Roaring Moon, Terra Gligar, Terra Quaquaval, Iron Bundle, Enamorous Incarnate, Mega Mawile, and Thorn. Resistant wise, I give myself 5 out of 5. As you can see, there's no obvious weakness on there. The only one that could be slight is that my only Ghost Resist is Roaring Moon. But I think if we're just looking at it from this standpoint, 5 out of 5 is perfectly fine. I didn't get too many low tiers, so I've also given myself 5 out of 5, as 3-point Terra Vikavolt is very good, and 2-point Terra Gligar is also very solid. So I'm pretty happy having that as 5 out of 5. If we're talking about Terra Captains just in general, though, I've given myself 4 out of 5, as I think I am slightly lacking. I was looking to get rid of Terra Quaquaval, but no luck, though I do think it can be a very solid mon. I like Terra Vikavolt, and then Terra Gligar is just kind of there, since it was the only thing that I could afford as another Terra Captain, so I thought I might as well put it. But I think compared to some of the other coaches who have like 2 or even 3 really solid Terra Captains, I'm kind of falling behind. Removal wise, I've given myself 3 out of 5. I have a defog option in Gligar and a rapid spin option in Quaquaval, but I kind of don't want to be removal options on them. Quaquaval, if I'm like a Terra, I want to be more of an offensive set and not have to run spin. And then Gligar, if it's coming, it's most likely to set hazards, not remove them. Hazard wise, sorry, 5 out of 5. I think that's hard to argue. Ferrothorn, Gligar, good at getting rocks and spikes. Mega Mawile can be a rocker if I need. T-Spikes on Gligar, Sticky Web on Vikavolt. I think that's very solid. Momentum wise, also 5 out of 5. Got a lot of momentum options, with the U-turns, the flip turns, the Volt Switches, even Parting Shot Peturunt. I think that's very good. If I was going to change anything, I did 4 out of 5, because like I said, I was looking to change the Terra Quaquaval for something else. But overall, I'm pretty happy with this team. I think it can be very solid. I've got a lot of high pointers. I got very lucky in getting 8 out of the possible 10 highest rolls. Just missing out on, unfortunately, that 20 pointer, and I think rolling a 12. Yeah, rolling a 12, and then I would have had the highest possible rolls, which is very interesting. Which gives me a total of 31. Now I'm going to show what I originally decided. So originally when I was going through, which the reason I changed is I just kept on moving stuff around. I think this was like the happiest I was going to be with just visually going through and ranking stuff. So I'm just going to show this, and then I'll add the points on, and then we can go through and do a final tally. I think that's going to be the best way to see it. So in S tier, I had Syth's team, Rotom's team, and yours truly team. In A, I had LPT's, Smoliv's, and Route's team. In B, I had Cyan's, Forza's, Adura's, and Boniour's. In C tier, I had VN's, Zodiac's, Raku's, and Cavern's. And then D tier, I had Jax's and Viinis's. So as I said, I'm going to add 5 to all of like the S tiers, 4 to the A, so on and so forth. Okay, so after ordering all of the total tallies, this is what we're looking at, with our very tippity top, our number 1 in the power ranking being Rotom's team, getting a whopping 39 out of 40. Very solid, very scary team. Then we have me. I might just be glazing my team as 36 out of 40. Then we go down into a 3-way tie in terms of points, with 35 out of 40 in Syth, VN, and Smoliv, which I've just put in order of which team I think are the best. I think Syth has a very solid team, arguably probably better than mine, but we'll go through the way that we've done it with the points. And then Smoliv, and then VN's team. We then go down to LPT's, who got 33 out of 40. We then go to another tie with 32 out of 40 with Forza and Adura and Route. So I put those in order of which ones I think are the best. I think, despite only having, I think, 107, Forza did very well with their team building into the Route, into Adura. I think all were pretty comparable, particularly with the points them being the same, but I think I'd probably just edge these just a little bit over. We have Cyan next, who got 31, and Raku, who both tied. Cyan's team has a lot of weaknesses, but also has a lot of scary mons. I'd put it just above Raku's. I think it's just a bit better. And then we start getting down to, in 12th place, we have Cavern, who got 29 out of 40. I believe that was tied. Tell a lie, it wasn't. The next ones are tied. Number 13 and 14, Boniour and Jax, both got 28 out of 40. I think I prefer Boniour's team just a little bit more to Jax's. Zodiac ended up with 27 out of 40 for the team, which is not going to matter anyway, as he's just going to farm this entire league. No matter if he has the best or worst team, it doesn't matter. And then at the very bottom, 16, we have Viinis, which is, the team definitely has some improvements. The problem is it just looks like a really fun team. I think I'd have a very good time using it. Glow King, Mega Frostlass looks very fun to use. I love Greninja currently. I'm using it in another league, but it just has some holes that need to be filled out. So we're going to leave that there, otherwise I'll end up making another video completely changing the order, as I'm very indecisive with this. But yeah, we'll keep it like this. Congratulations to Rotom to having the best team. But as I said, if any of these teams were in a normal league, they'll probably be like the top team, or one of the top teams, as just a lot of insane stuff with this tiering. So it should be a whole lot of fun. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you later.